I want to start with something almost everyone has felt but rarely admits out loud. That strange, heavy exhaustion that hits you after spending time with certain people. Not physical exhaustion, not the kind that comes from lifting boxers or running errands, but a deeper kind of fatigue that seems to settle in your chest and your mind. It's confusing, because nothing dramatic happened. No argument, no crisis, just interaction. Yet somehow you walk away feeling like someone unplugged your energy from the inside. And for years, I thought it meant there was something wrong with me, that maybe I was too sensitive, too fragile, or just socially inconsistent. But the truth is far more common and far more human than we realize. What most people don't know is that your brain burns real energy trying to keep you emotionally safe. When you're around someone unpredictable, overly dramatic, or emotionally inconsistent, your mind goes into a kind of silent survival mode. You might not notice it happening, but your nervous system does. It scans tone, posture, micro-expressions, pauses, and even the tension hidden between someone's words. And when you have to stay alert like that, even in small doses, the cost shows up the moment you're alone again. That drained feeling isn't weakness. It's your brain saying, I worked overtime. But here's the twist. Most people think exhaustion comes from big conflicts, when in reality, the interactions that drain us the most are the subtle ones, the ones where we're constantly choosing words carefully, the ones where we're stepping around emotional landmines we can't name but can definitely feel. That's where the trap begins. Because once you start monitoring yourself to avoid triggering reactions in someone else, you're not just having a conversation, you're performing. You're editing yourself in real time, softening your tone, shrinking parts of your personality, or playing mediator for emotions that aren't even yours. That constant self-monitoring is cognitive overload, and cognitive overload feels exactly like emotional burnout. And if you've ever walked away from a simple interaction feeling strangely guilty, uncertain, or mentally tired, it's probably because your brain wasn't engaging in connection. It was engaging in protection. But here's the real question no one asks. Why does this happen with certain people and not with others? To answer that, you have to look at what your mind is really reacting to. It's not the person's personality. It's their patterns. Some people live in permanent dramatization mode, and being near them forces you into emotional participation you never signed up for. Others never truly listen, which creates a subtle form of rejection. And rejection, even micro-rejection, is processed by the brain, almost like physical pain. Then there are the people who constantly need validation, approval, reassurance, or emotional regulation, turning you into their emotional life raft. None of this makes anyone a villain, but it does make the dynamic heavy to carry. And that heaviness creates a kind of emotional tax your brain keeps trying to pay in the background. Every time you anticipate how someone might react, every time you prepare for a shift in mood, every time you walk on eggshells to keep the peace, your emotional bandwidth shrinks a little more. Over time, this doesn't just drain you at conditions. You start associating social interaction with effort instead of connection. And once that link is created, even neutral or positive interactions start feeling like work. That's why some people begin to isolate without understanding why. It's not about disliking people. It's about protecting energy that has been overdrawn too many times. Now, here's where everything changes. The exhaustion you feel is not a sign to push harder. It's a sign to pay attention. Your body is telling you that certain interactions are costing more energy than they return. And when the cost outweighs the connection, your system goes into preservation mode. That doesn't mean you stop caring. It simply means your brain is choosing survival over social obligation. And instead of asking, why am I like this? The real question becomes, what is this interaction demanding from me that feels so heavy? That's the moment the entire story shifts. Because once you identify the pattern, you can finally break it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the real reasons certain people drain your energy, the invisible psychological mechanisms behind this exhaustion, and the subtle signs your mind has been trying to send you. And most importantly, I'm going to show you the practical steps to reclaim your emotional energy without guilt, without drama, and without breaking every relationship in your life. Stay with me until the end, because once you understand these patterns, you'll never question your exhaustion again. Instead, you'll understand it. You'll respect Italiano, and you'll finally learn how to protect your energy before it disappears again. The first thing you need to understand is that emotional exhaustion doesn't start with the other person. It starts with the role your mind takes on around them. Every relationship, healthy or draining quickly, pushes you into a position. With energizing people, you feel like yourself. You talk freely. You don't rehearse your reactions. Your shoulders relax without you thinking about it. But with draining people, you shift into a role without even noticing. You might become the peacekeeper, the emotional sponge, the caretaker, the explicable, the one who smooths tension or carries conversations. And the moment your brain switches roles, the energy leak begins. You stop operating from authenticity and start operating from protection, and protection is expensive. Think about it. When someone constantly dramatizes every inconvenience, your mind becomes responsible for absorbing their intensity. When someone never listens, you over-explain yourself just to feel seen. When someone seeks endless validation, you trade your energy to fill the hole. They refuse to fill themselves. When someone ignores boundaries, you stay hyper-aware of every reaction, trying to avoid conflict. None of these interactions look dramatic on the surface, but your nervous system treats them as micro-stress events. And micro-stress doesn't disappear. It accumulates, slowly shaping how you show up in every future interaction. That's the part no one warns you about. And then something else happens, something subtle but powerful. You begin to anticipate the exhaustion before it even happens. You see a message pop up on your phone and your chest tightens before you read it. You hear their voice and your energy drops a little. You agree to a plan and then instantly regret it. Not because you dislike them, but because your mind remembers how drained you felt last time. Anticipation becomes avoidance. Avoidance becomes guilt. And guilt keeps you stuck in the same cycle. You keep showing up to be polite, to be loyal, to avoid tension. But every time you do, you trade a piece of your emotional energy for temporary peace. And temporary peace always ends up costing more than you think. Now here's the truth most people overlook. Emotional exhaustion is rarely about sensitivity. It's about imbalance. You give more than you receive. You adapt more than they do. You monitor more, adjust more, reassure more, explain more, tolerate more, and shrink more. Over time, your system stops having space for your own needs, your own thoughts, your own emotional landscape. You start postponing your own healing, rest, creativity, hobbies, ambitions, or joy because you've spent the day managing someone else's emotional world. And the saddest part? You convince yourself that this is normal. But it's not normal. It's familiar. There's a difference. The second truth is even harder to swallow. Some people drain you not because they're bad, but because their emotional world is loud. Their insecurity is loud. Their pessimism is loud. Their self-centeredness is loud. Their chaos is loud. And loud emotional environments force your mind to turn up its internal volume just to stay stable. That loudness seeps into your nervous system, shaping how you breathe, how you speak, how you think, and how you show up. You carry their emotional noise long after the interaction ends, and carrying something that heavy is bound to lead to exhaustion. So what do? How do you protect yourself without cutting people off completely? How do you regain your energy without feeling like the villain in someone else's story? You start by learning something most adults were never taught. Emotional boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They don't lock people out. They control what you allow in. And the first boundary you need is internal, not external. It's the permission to acknowledge, without guilt, that certain interactions genuinely drain you. Your body is not overreacting. Your energy is not lying to you. That heaviness you feel is data. And once you treat it as data instead of a flaw, you unlock the ability to change the pattern instead of blaming yourself for it. Next, you have to identify the specific pattern that exhausts you. Is it the responsibility to keep conversations positive? Is it walking on eggshells? Is it feeling unheard? Is it absorbing negativity? Is it constantly playing the emotional anchor? Once you name the pattern, the illusion breaks. You're no longer confused. You're aware, and awareness gives you power. From there, the smallest change makes the biggest difference. Reducing contact frequency, not responding immediately. Allowing conversations to end naturally instead of forcing the connection. Saying no without writing a paragraph of justification. Answering honestly instead of offering emotional labor you don't have. These small boundaries don't destroy a relationship. They rebalance it. And as you rebalance the relationship, your energy gradually comes back online. Your mind breathes again. Your body relaxes again. You feel like yourself again. But the most surprising part, when you stop over, something incredible happens. You see the relationship for what it truly is, not what your guilt tries to convince you it should be. And that clarity is the beginning of emotional freedom. Stay with me, because what comes next may be the part of the story you've needed for years.